something, just sorry not to interrupt, but something that you had said earlier when we spoke that I think really spoke to me was the reason you were doing a podcast is because you can check your email and be on the subway and be doing 10 other things at the same time. So it's a new way to get to your viewers or listeners or whatever while they're doing 12 other things. And I actually listened to your podcast today while I was checking my email and preparing my questions. So, you know, I think that there's a lot of that multitasking going on.
Because I think of, well, what do I want? And that's, you know, so what I want is I want to be able to do things while I'm on the run. And I think the people that I'm reaching out to probably are in the same boat and want that as well. Mm-hmm. So, and someone was saying earlier that, you know, a lot of this isn't new, and it's really not. So for example, this podcasting thing that I just started, back in 2005, that's actually what I intended to do before blogging, and then I got kind of sidetracked for 4 years, and now I'm finding that I really like it, and that's 90% of the way I get news. Or, you know, I never listen to the radio, hardly watch TV anymore. I get it through podcasting. So, you know, it fits my life. So I figured, well, you know, maybe I'm going to address all the commuters on the train, you know, telling stories about the housing market.
I think what people don't realize is that I've done some podcasting too, and I get comments on my blog later in the day. I listened to your podcast while I was on the treadmill at the gym, and it was great. So they're downloading the podcast to their iPods or whatever their listening device is, and they are listening to it on the train or at the gym or whatever.
Can you guys all tell how much time you spend on each of these social networks? Or on all of them?
Yeah, I probably an hour or two a day. I mean, I'm working on the site a lot often, so I don't spend too much time. It really depends on the day. I mean, a lot of it's about just putting yourself out there. You know, to Doug's point, this is social marketing, right? In a nutshell. But it's just like any other social interaction. When you go and you meet someone at an event, you don't walk up to them and start talking right away and telling them what you do and asking them if they want to buy a house. You know, you introduce yourself. You know, that maybe the second or third time you mention something about, you know, and you should just I would suggest approaching this medium the same exact way, because it's no different than email or email's social marketing, right? When you email somebody, they reply. There's same difference. And Rob is a big advocate of this. I think it's not getting caught up in the technology per se, but what you can do with the technology. On the video side of things, I think there's been a big argument over the past couple years as to which is better, for the virtual tour or the video. And I got caught up in that for a while, but we did. But you know, you quickly realize it doesn't really matter which is. It's not the technology; it's the way you use it. So if Doug uses video incredibly well. He gets on camera, he talks about the neighborhood and walks you through the property, and that's something you could never do with a photograph, but that's not to say that a photograph's not just as beneficial in certain ways. So yeah, social media, I just think you apply common sense more than anything.
I think I probably spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day on all social media, real estate related social media, because I also do a bunch of other stuff, politics, gaming, you know, what have you. Probably about an hour, half an hour to an hour a day. There's one thing that, you know, we kind of touched on, and I do want to make this point to, you know, folks who are thinking about doing this, particularly as a marketing vehicle. What Rick, I think it was Rick, you know, mentioned is absolutely true. You have to do this yourself. This has consequences if you're a marketer, which means is you can't outsource it, right? So it's free from a monetary standpoint, but it's costly from a time standpoint, right? So I can't go and hire a copywriter to write my blog post for me, because that defeats the entire purpose of letting the people know who I am. I can't go and, I mean, for some things like video, there are things that you can do, but things like Twitter, you really can't, you can't be Britney Spears and hire a PR agency to Twitter for you. I mean, it just defeats the purpose. So that is something to really keep in mind, that, you know, when you go beneath a level about social media and you strip away some of the tools, what you find is it's an investment of time, of your personal time and your personal, who you are into the overall communication. That's the critical challenge. I mean, if you can do that well, this medium will serve you extraordinarily well. If you can't do that well, if you don't have the time for it, you don't have the personality, it might not be as fulfilling as you think it might be. But so from a time standpoint,
well, I think it's
that's what it
interesting
comes
you
down
say
to.
It's only an hour, because it sounds so overwhelming to approach all of these different new social networks that you've never been a part of. But if once you get comfortable with them, if you're really only spending an hour a day to actually help your business, that's not, I mean, that's not much.
It doesn't even have to be, well, excuse me. It doesn't even have to necessarily be an hour. I mean, you know, with Welcome Mat, one of the ways I use Twitter, okay, is to, as our press page. So, as an example, and Jonathan does this too with your blog. Actually, you guys both do this with your blogs, and Rob as well, where you have, you know, you can write a blog, put it online, publish it, and, you know, 2 years ago, maybe 5 people read it, unless you had an audience, but that took time. With Twitter, you can build an audience first. So you can build an audience of 50 followers, 100 followers, 500 followers, then publish your blog maybe down the road, and publish it on Twitter. Now you have 500 people being updated that you just published your blog, and you get the long tail effect. Same thing goes with what I was saying with Welcome Mat. We have a press page on the site like any other company probably out here, brokers, et cetera. No one reads your press page, you know, other than competition and maybe, you know, an intern looking for a job. However, we use Twitter, and I use this, it takes me 2 minutes. I'll publish our Welcome Mat updates onto Twitter. So I'm using that as our press page, because now, as opposed, you know, versus 2 people finding out about the press page being published, 500 or 1,000 or 20,000 find out immediately that we just pushed out a new product. So, and that took no time whatsoever.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to just add one thought to that too, because when you talk about, you know, sitting down for an hour, you know, I never looked at it as homework. And so I find that I have, the way I approach this is if I really feel excited or strong about a topic, man, I'm going to sit there until someone pulls me out of my chair writing about it, because it's fun. And I think the reader picks that up because, you know, there's some passion in what you're presenting. It's not homework where you sit down, oh my God, I got to write a post. What do I write? It's more like, you know, I'll go, you know, a couple days in a row, I might either not post at all, not do anything, and then I'll have a burst. You know, I'll never let the void, you know, the absence from it go too long. But you know, if you don't have anything to say, you're better off not saying it.
And I have I think the way I use these tools might be a little bit different. I'm a horrible writer, and I don't have much of a personality.
Yes, you do.
All right, thanks. And I write the way I speak. So when I meet people who have been reading my writing, they're like, wow, you write exactly the way you speak. And for me, that's authenticity. And so I'm not crafting War and Peace. I've never written a blog post that's longer than 2 paragraphs ever. I write emails as quick as I possibly can. But when I'm online, I have tools that I think, when I come across a really cool piece of software that I think is valuable to my followers or my fans, then I share it. So I have a simple tool that says post to Twitter or post to my blog, so I can write a short blog post about it. But for me, it's really about, I talked about it earlier, it's the kids who get kicked off American Idol are the inauthentic ones. And so I think you don't need to be a fantastic writer. I think you need to be an authentic writer. And because I really am, read it, it's horrible. But it's fun and it's interesting, and you know, it's run-on sentences, and it's the way I speak, and it's a really great representation of me, and I hear from people that they connect with that. So I think there's some wiggle room all the way around.
So I have a question. How do you stay authentic then and get 700,000 Twitter followers? I mean, if you're just following random people, and you wouldn't go to a networking event and just say hello to 700 people and expect that they would want to listen to all of everything you have to say.
Well, people have the ability to unfollow.
Right.
And so what is it? If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Isn't that what it is? I'm not asking permission to be who I am. And so I'm conveying to the world who I am, what it's like doing business with me. I'm all about value and that kind of thing. So it comes across in the way that I present things. Right. And so if people don't connect with that, there is absolutely someone that they can do business with. And that will be fantastic. But if they don't connect with me, we're probably not going to have a great business relationship anyway. So it's better to get divorced on the front end than after we have kids and stuff. So
what about for a real estate broker? How can you stay authentic and still get 700 followers?
700?
Or whatever.
I have stayed incredibly authentic.